Hey guys, this is my little test code for collision detection. It's in Freepascal, but it could easily be adapted for other languages that I work on here. And all it does is basically you're the green box chasing the red box. As soon as it makes contact, it randomly jumps around. And we also have a score counter, and it also displays collision every time there is a collision. Now, not too impressive. It's not a fun game. It's just the little demo to figure out collision detection. So I'm going to go through that with you right now, and I'll leave that code on GitHub, and you could test it out. What I plan to do is combine parts of this code, hopefully improved, with the pathfinding code and make a little demo that demonstrates, a somewhat playable game. Um, Nothing too crazy, nothing, it's about the quality you'd expect from, the amount of code I'm writing here. So just enough to make it work, but I'm not going to spend much time on artwork or anything like that, just keeping things simple. And this right here is the main code that checks if those two boxes collided, basically. So this is the bounding box collision algorithm, if you could call it an algorithm. There's not much to it. And I just swiped this off the Mozilla site. They have a little demo. Let me pull that over. So here's the bit of code I snatched. Here's a little demo they have. When the boxes collide, one changes color. Same thing as I'm doing. Let's move that over. Now, I've done a few things. So here's our what's normally called a game loop. I'm calling it a main loop right now because it's not really a game loop. I'm clearing the screen, drawing the shapes, processing any collisions, and printing the score. I'm adding a delay here because if I don't, things will just go too fast. I'm checking if any keys are pressed, and if the A key is pressed, we go left, S key we go right, W key go up, Z key we go down, and Q we quit out of the loop. And here's our main area where we set what really happens. So we initialize the shapes. All it does is, let's just jump to that. Okay. It goes through each of the shapes and sets active to false. It doesn't set any of the other attributes, but when we use set shape, that's where we set the ID, the player ID, if it's active, visible, and the initial X, Y coordinates, width, height, any offsets. And this one's a special one here. It's the draw procedure, and that's user defined. So let me show you how. So right now we have two draw procedures, one that draws a green box and one that draws a red box. If we wanted both boxes to be drawn using the same color, we can just use the same procedure, and if we run the demo again, they're both green now. And we can do the reverse. We can make them both red. So we can control how each shape is drawn. Let me jump to that portion right now. So here's our code for drawing the shape. Again, this could be replaced with any user function procedure in the same format. So you'll need to put shape ID, but you could call it anything you want. Let me just make a new one so you get the idea. Let's call this my draw shape, and I'm going to change the color to blue so we'll know that it's actually using that. So if we go here and change that to my blue shape, my draw shape, okay, and that compiles, and let's run that. So we can see now it's blue, but it works exactly the same way. Okay, let's put things back in the same order. I'm going to delete this. Now, besides just using commands to, draw your shape, you can use bitmaps. So I have a little example here with that. Let's uncomment and so now instead of drawing just boxes, we can, these are from the Pathfinder demo, but I'm recycling them. And if they didn't have the border, they'd look a little better, but there's also the flickering that you see. Now I'm using the graph unit, which is not the best for video games, but it's good enough for this demo. Maybe in the future I'll use a library that's more suitable for games, but just to show the example, this is good enough. So I'll leave that that way. And the other part that's important is the collision. Um, so to simplify things, rather than putting the collision detection in the main code, I've added a routine here that you could add your own collisions to what shapes and your own custom procedure how to handle them. So in this case, I have one called collision, but again, it could be called something else. I'll do the same thing as the others, make a copy of it, call it something else, and I'll call it my new collision. And what we can do is instead of printing the collision text in green, let's change it to red. That way we know it's doing something. And yeah, let's just try that for now. So I'm going to change this to my new collision. And if we look now to the right-hand side where it prints the score, whenever there's a collision, it prints collision in red. It's a little hard to see, but it's happening. Now, the other thing we can do is we can have more than one shape associated with the player. So what I'll do next is change this back to drawing the box, and let's test it now. Okay, so now we don't have the bitmap, we just have the box. But if we want to have something like more than one shape, like if the player had a gun or some other weapon, um, we could create another shape and basically associate that with the player. So let's copy the same thing here, and I'm going to try and make a smaller box uh, beside the main box. Okay, I'm going to have to increase that. That'll still work. And now we'll put this maybe just slightly up, yeah, slightly above. Okay, let's see if that works. Oh, definitely something wrong here. No, obviously that's not right. Okay, let's make this further away. Okay, so that's a little better. Although now we're not getting to collisions. Okay, let's try 2 and 3. There we go. Okay, so I had my code a little mixed up. So notice that we're only colliding with the lower box, not the top box. But we can create another collision for that as well. So let's do that. So 1 and 3, and that should work for both boxes now, making contact with the bitmap. So let's check that works. And if we move that down, okay, that works the way it's supposed to. You just have to imagine that the smaller box is some kind of weapon. Okay, and that demonstrates all the functions here. When there is contact with the keyboard, I'm just moving the player around using this procedure. So I'm specifying the player ID and the delta to move it, whether it's -2, +2, and that makes the player move. And let's see, is there anything else? Nope, but one final thing I should discuss is probably why all this is just an array, and I'm not creating things dynamically or using objects or classes, is one drawback to doing that is that it slows things down. So what I found is best is to pretty much allocate everything up front when you initialize your game, and rather than deallocate memory or all kinds of resources, just turn things off or make things not visible. So things tend to run much faster when you do that rather than trying to allocate and deallocate memory and load things up from disk. It's better to do that all up front and at the end close things down properly. But during the game, don't do any of that. Anyway, I hope to have a better version of this with some pathfinding code and some more intelligence with the player, or at least the monster. So that way you could chase them around instead of the what I'm doing now. But that's it for this video. Thanks for watching.